The month of March is traditionally recognized as Women in Construction Month. And today, I'm pleased to introduce a true trailblazer in the industry and someone I've had the pleasure of working with for over 15 years at Baker Construction, Kerri Smith Petrillo. As the Chief People and Strategy Officer, Kerri is responsible for ensuring the right tools and strategies are in place for building teams that have the skills and knowledge to safely deliver complex projects. Her areas of responsibility include recruitment, people development and training, and related human resources functions. And today, she will be sharing with us strategies for harnessing talent that will lead to organizational success. Please help me in welcoming Kerri Smith Petrillo.
Good morning. I want to start by, I could stand up here for 45 minutes and brag about Mindy, but you all know how wonderful she is, so I don't need to do that. But I do want to say thank you to Mindy and the team for giving me the opportunity to share with you today some tools that we're using in the realm of talent. So it's going to be a bit kind of hit and miss. It's not going to be smooth. My goal would be that there's something that we talk about today that you could take back to your teams, something that will be useful. And also from a selfish standpoint, would love to get your feedback, questions to help us continue improving in what we're doing in the realm of talent. Full disclaimer, I have absolutely zero expertise or experience in this world of talent. I actually grew up within Baker, spent the last 19 of my 20 and a half years up through operations. Probably most of you know Carl Watson came on board with us, I think it was 2 years ago in June, as our new CEO. And as he started looking at who we are and where we want to go, he came to me one day and said, I need you to make a move. And I said, well, what do you mean? I love my job, right? I'm running the Southeast region, very great market. We had 9 different market lines that were all going very well. And I said, I don't know that this is for me. HR? What do you mean HR? I don't know anything about HR, right? Operations is who I am. I love the P&L. I love the operational challenges. And he said, I understand, but we need to figure out a way to make a people factory. And he was like, so I'm asking you to step into a role of strategy and talent. And it was one of those asks that was kind of more like a tell, right? And so I said, I don't even know where to start. I have no experience in this world. And he said, that's fine. He was like, I need you to come in and I need you to do this for the organization. And so a year ago in December, I moved into the role. And it's a role that's a bit challenging, but also something that's very, very exciting. And so we've spent probably the last year really creating some tools that are simple, but we think tools are going to help us lead the way for the future of Baker. And so that's what I want to share with you today. Again, it's going to be not quite smooth, but I want to start off sharing with you a little bit about kind of who we are, and then we'll get into some of the tools. And I'd love for this to be interactive, so as I'm explaining a tool, please ask questions. Love to answer anything, and then we'll see where we end up. I'm sure I could talk a lot. You guys will tell me, hey, hurry up, you have 5 minutes left, all right? So Baker Construction, I think most of you probably know of us because Mindy does such a great job of doing what she does, but I want to give you a little bit more about who we are and what we do. And so when we talk about who we are, a lot of times people jump right into what we do. But who we are for us is our vision statement. And that is, we are a company that is building better structures and building better lives. And I want to take a couple minutes to break down what that really means to us. Building better structures. We're in 4 major market segments. We're in the structural work, which is probably what most of you guys know us for, so that general building structural work. We're in industrial distribution, and we're in restoration. So those are the 4 major market segments that we serve. We have 24 different offices across the United States. We will work everywhere but California. So if you are looking for somebody to do work in that area, we will gladly introduce you to somebody else. But these different offices serve the whole United States. I will say you'll see a couple of the offices that are pretty close together, and you're saying, well, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you spread it out? Again, those 4 market segments sometimes will have different offices in the same location to serve those market segments. We have over 14,000 projects under our belt in more than 1,400 cities. But basically what we do for most of you is we are a total package concrete shell contractor who does wood, iron, and mud. And so, that formwork, rebar, and placing the concrete. So that's how we do it. But that's only what people know about Baker from the external. I really want to talk to you a little bit more about the internal Baker, the stuff that people on the outside doesn't necessarily see. And that is the part that says building better lives. We are a team of 8,000 coworkers across the United States. And I want to go back to that vision statement, right? Building better lives, and what does that mean? And I would say that for us, a vision statement is just that, right? For those of you that know Mr. Baker, he is a phenomenal visionary who started the company. And so he says, we are going to build better structures and build better lives. Well, that sounds good. Well, what does that mean? And for somebody who I will literally say is a genius, he said, Kerri, well, it means whatever you want it to mean. So it took me a while, right? And I really had to think about, what does build better lives mean? And I'm going to share with you a quick video that will explain what build better lives means. And I show you this in hopes that you'll join us on this quest, but it's a personal experience. And I think as leaders, we can take a visionary statement, but it's our job to make it come reality. And so with this, I'll share with you what we call our 10,000 keys. Probably 4 or 5 years ago, there was a knock on my door in my office, and one of our foremen, who I knew of but didn't have a close relationship, right? Might have said hi, probably saw me walk his job, that type of stuff. Knocked on my door and said, hey, Kerri, do you have a minute? Sure, come in. And so he comes in, and he was like, I'd like to give you a hug. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of awkward, but sure, right? And so I stand up, and I'm not a hugger, but he gives me a hug, and I step back, and he's very overwhelmed with emotion. So little tears in his eyes, and I'm thinking, like, is everything okay? What's going on? So I'm like, what's going on? And he was like, I just want to say thank you. And I'm like, okay, well, you're welcome, but thank you for what? And now I'm going to be emotional. He pulls out a set of keys, and he said, if it weren't for you and it weren't for this company, I would never be able to realize one of my dreams, and that is buying a house for my family. And I was like, well, you're welcome, but you did that, so I'm super happy for you, and I understand it's a dream come true, and it's very well deserved. And so he leaves, right? And I'm go about my day. Definitely something that hit my heart. But again, just another story that goes by. And so then I'm fast forward 3 or 4 years later, and I'm in a group of professionals, and they keep asking the question, why? Why are you a baker? Why are you here? And you go through that, oh, I'm here for blah, 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 right? You fill it in with stuff. And so I kept asking myself, why? Like, why? And then all of a sudden, the story pops in my head, and I feel that emotion again, like it was the same day, even though it was 3 or 4 hours or 3 or 4 years later. I felt that just emotion, and I'm like, I know I'm here. Again, back to how I was raised up on a farm. My parents never owned a home. That was something that just only certain people did. It wasn't reality, and it was a big deal, and again, I was sitting there like, why am I here? And I'm like, I know why I'm here. I'm here for 10,000 keys under my leadership. I want Baker to get to the point where 10,000 people are able to buy a home for their family, because that's impactful. I've literally heard this, and I've told the story 1,000 times, and it still hits me a little bit. But that's why I'm here, right? And that's who Baker is. Sure, we build a lot of pretty cool concrete structures across the United States, but that's not who we are, right? We're here to build better structures, but more importantly, build better lives. And I encourage you, again, I'm going to spend most of my time sharing stuff like this. I encourage you guys to do the same. Why are you here? What is it about your companies, not the product that you make, but how are you really affecting people's lives?
And this is something that I'm super proud of. We have walls in every one of our offices. We have stories that come in from our foremen, from our carpenters that say, with a picture of them holding a set of keys, telling us their story. That's who we are, and that's why we're here. And this is why I'm passionate about the topic that we have in talent today. So I just wanted to share with you something that encourage you guys to join us in 10,000 Keys. The folks that work for you work extremely hard, and we all have dreams. So anything that you can do is gratefully helpful. So I just wanted to share that. So now let me talk a bit about our vision, right? Building better structures, building better lives, that's our vision. How does that transfer into strategy? And I would say one of the things that we look at is there's two different parts, again, my opinion only, I'm not an expert here, of strategy. One is, what's the operational strategy? And what are the decisions that we make as far as running a business in regards to strategy? But the other side of strategy, I think,